This conference will now be recorded.
I say that sometimes too. I'm in Congress. I'm sorry, I haven't learned that yet. I know some things, that's not one of them. Oh, I gotta do that too. Yep. I know. Glad when it happens to somebody else.
To start all our meetings. I'll call the meeting to order. Looks like we've got a quorum because Jen is no longer on the commission, so we got a commission of 6 and 4 are here. I don't know if Mayor Hamill's coming yet or not, but enough to conduct the meeting. So next, the agenda. Are there any additions or changes that we know of? If not, is there a motion to approve as stated?
I'll move we approve the agenda as printed.
I'll second.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bev, aye.
Oh.
Bullseye, aye, okay.
Sorry.
Carries. Number 3, approval of the minutes from September 13th. Everybody had a chance to review those?
I move we approve the minutes as printed.
Okay, there's a mistake on here. I knew there
Oh,
was.
no.
I wasn't here at this meeting, but I'm down for having seconded.
You weren't here at the last meeting?
No.
Okay.
This is not- no.
Well,
Maybe it was me that. I remember seeing that one.
might have been.
They got
Might
the
have been
Bev's.
mistaken for a Bev. Do you want to make that correction, Kurt? Sure. All right, as corrected, the motion's been made. Or is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, okay.
Bev was like,
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, carried. Abstained. Number 4, we've got a couple of public hearings. First, 4A is the Billman property plat, and that was scheduled for 5:35. And then the next one was at 5:40, so we could probably take the Billman public hearing first. Any background, Kurt, before I open it up for comment?
No, everything's been kind of laid out for you, and you can see there's a preliminary plat for the addition, there's a survey, and we spoke about it at the last meeting, so nothing new has come up. It will be called the Billman plat, I believe, if we get to name it. I attached that email on there
An
somewhere.
addition.
The Billman edition, yeah.
That,
And so you can see the separate septic tank eventually for when this lot is lived on. And then it's got a shared water well, and driveway access will be shared as well. That was on the email from his realtor.
okay. Yeah, and the whole reason why plating is necessary rather than a minor subdivision is because we're doing 2 splits at the same time, right? And our ordinance says if that happens, we have to plat. Do we need to, before I open the public hearing, do you think we need to follow through to make sure the shared well agreement is in place and recorded? I don't know if, where that property is, it's probably not a huge deal, but I suppose keep it on the checklist or on the front burner that they follow through with those things. Yeah, all right. All right, I'll open the public hearing on the Billman property plat. Does anybody have any comments, questions on it? Anybody here on that one or not?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
We just recently moved to town. We're at 300 Walnut, so this does border our property.
hold on, I think we're on one out in,
This is way on the south side down here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, across 52. You'll be on the next one.
Okay, sorry.
I think it's probably just us.
The curve.
Yeah,
Yes,
I just want to make sure that there's not a new subdivision starting up.
yeah, no, that's all that's being proposed now is this split of these two lots, and that's all we know about. No developers.
So we drew it up here for you. There's big lots, there's little cell phones out here. And what he's proposing is just one, he lives right on this, which is an individual, is a separate lot right here. So it'll be 1, 2, 3. So that's what it makes it.
There's no subdivision.
So no plan for the
Not-
34 acres.
not from
that we
this
know of.
presented.
Okay,
If that day ever comes, there'd be definitely another public hearing on that.
okay, okay.
No, that you can annex, that's annexed in, right?
I think that already is, yep. It's part of
That's the
city
only
limits.
reason you can put more houses there.
Pardon me?
That's the only reason you can put more houses there.
Because it's annexed?
Zones.
There's more than enough houses out there according to the township.
Mineola Township has a rule that only 4 houses per square.
Right, yeah. So,
Since he's annexed, that does.
yeah, then he's governed by city ordinance, right?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not against it. I just want to understand more of it.
Sure.
What were your guys' names?
Lemmerman.
Lemmerman is the last thing, yeah.
Always, if you have other questions or comments, now that you're, okay. All right, I'll close the public hearing, and I guess the commission, according to our subdivision ordinance, deals with plats, and this is a preliminary plat. We've run it by our city engineer, and he's made some comments, and everything's up to speed with him, right? And I borrowed Kurt's ordinance here, and it says, at the preliminary plat hearing, considerations by the planning commission are the following under 3A through E. Number A, or letter A, consistency with the design standards and other requirements of this ordinance. B, consistency with the city's comprehensive plan or other development plans. C, consistency with the zoning ordinance. D, the physical characteristics of the site, including but not limited to topography, erosion, flooding potential, soil limitations, suitability thereof for the type of development or use contemplated. And E, the proposed development will not create a negative fiscal or environmental impact on the city. So in addition to the lots being the appropriate size to fit within our ordinance and all of that, those are 5 other factors for the commission to consider.
So those would be our findings of fact.
We're supposed to at least consider those following factors. We could say we've considered them and either approved or disapproved them, yeah.
One question I would have is city sewer and water, how close are those to that site?
It's a long ways away, isn't it?
Okay.
They're not close.
Because more septics, that gets to be a long-term issue.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, that's right. No, it'll have to be, if that day ever comes when there's a proposed development out there, they're gonna have to deal with the way these lots are sitting and work around it. Yeah. But right now it's rural in character, right?
And with that road between them, looks like it's a wide enough road for a street, so. Should work.
I believe it's still gravel out there too.
Yeah, but it's 66 foot wide, so I mean, it could have a city street through if that came to that.
right?
Is there an existing house out there now on that land?
What do we got out
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, there's a house dwelling on the parcel, which is known as parcel, I think it's
The east side.
one.
Lot one, yep.
Yeah. And there's nothing on parcel A. There is a house on parcel B, and then obviously parcel C's farm.
Well, based on these considerations, I think we should I move to approve the plan.
Is there a second?
I would second that.
Any further discussion? So if we approve this, then it would go to council. This kind of gives us opportunity to make any final changes, corrections. Otherwise, it would go to council and if they approve it, then there would be a final plat. That would be the more official version with the Mylars, the giant thing with it's sort of plastic. That would get approved at the following meeting and then signed and recorded, and then everything would be of record with the county. So anyway, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, carries 4-0-0. And we'll move on then to the next public hearing, 4B, 453 Overlook Circle. Before I open the hearing for comment, any background, Kurt, that you wanted to give?
Yeah, this lot is pretty unique in the fact that it originally was platted as two separate lots. And then at some point, I think in the early 80s, we found out it was taxed as one lot. And the homeowners would now like to split it back into two. And there's septic sewer and water hookups there for an additional house at this point, so. You can see the lot here, let's say 1 and 2, became one, and the homeowners would like to divide it into two, and that's why we're having a minor subdivision public hearing. And there is hookups for sewer and water on this side. I believe their goal is to sell it eventually.
So it's the parcel with the straight line and over this way that they're thinking of dividing off.
It's close to that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the actual line, to tell you the truth. I don't know what that line is. That's what messed me up the first
The
time.
difference between
Figure that out.
it's Zimbrota and Mineola Township.
Oh, it is. Division of Township.
Line up.
But
Okay.
it is, yeah, it's probably a section.
Yeah, so that's what the line, oh, there we go.
And then where would the driveway be for that property?
Well, it'll be right off the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
The one sketch here kind of shows it, Bev, on the backside.
Yeah.
Bev on the backside is shows it.
Here we go. Oh, there's a picture. Better have it one. Oh, sure.
All right, with that, I'll open the public hearing. So if you wanted to maybe just state your name before you speak so that we can make a record of it. Who wants to go first?
It's all right if I approach the screen.
Sure,
and
yeah.
shoot.
Maybe give your name.
All right, my name's Mike Downs. So thanks for letting me come up here and speak my piece. So I moved into the neighborhood about 11 years ago, a little over 11 years ago. Kind of a very established community. My house was built in 1978. Most of the houses out there are, 70s, 80s vintage. And this was one parcel when I moved in. I actually live just below, so this is probably affecting me more than anybody, more than likely, so I understand that. But if you look at this as a topographic map, this is a huge hillside. And I've already been dealing with, I've got sump systems in, I've got everything else. Another house here in the runoff, if anybody's ever driven through this neighborhood, and after a rain, there's a lake here at the bottom. And we don't have any drainage, we don't have anything right there, it's a, you know, we're up here, that's up to the corner here, so, yeah, I'm not sure, basically, anything right through here, it goes back into the woods here, but this is directly like right down into the back, all hillside. So, I mean, it would probably completely wipe out my backyard as far as, you know, any grass, landscaping, heavy retaining walls, like all kinds of things, which I understand if I was moving into a new place, but, you know, like I said, I've been there 11 years and it's been one parcel since then. So, needless to say, I'm not real excited about it being separated into two. I don't have a whole lot more.
So where
than
the
that.
tree is, right on the, is that on a hill itself?
Yes, yep, it evens out right kind of through here, kind of on the edge of the Kurt's top lot, I would say. I think this kind of goes straight, so this is kind of a weird shaped lot too. This is woods back here. So the access is pretty small in the front. You know, you maybe get the driveway there, which would just add to all the collection of water there at the bottom of the hill. The house would probably go back here, which would add to my whole, basically running right into the backside of my house. And I guess, you know, I'm not very knowledgeable. I'm not sure on how all this stuff works with the zoning and setting up, you know, like with it going to one parcel over the last, you know, since the 80s, so,
Yeah.
you know, 30 years. I mean, is it, you separate, if the same people that bought the parcel combine it and only pay taxes on one, and then 30 years later want to separate it, they're about to move and build a house in Stewartville or something. So it's like, if they want to divide it back up again, do they pay back taxes on that separate lot? See, because they want evidence too, like, how does that work, I guess? I don't
think they would, but,
It's the same anyway. They're taxed on the whole
Two lots
parcel.
for one lot, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter? Okay.
So why was it ever combined in one? What was the,
Don't know.
you can ask the county to consolidate lots. Like I gave an example a couple meetings ago, like there's a subdivision in Wanamingo, I think it's Beverly Hills Edition or something like that, that those lots were all like 20 feet in width or something. So it's like, why would you ever plat lots that narrow? So property owners over there own like 4 or 6 lots, and that makes up one tax parcel. But, you know, even here, if you wanted to combine 2 lots, you could, although the last time we dealt with that, I think it got approved to accommodate a construction project, but generally, the council here kind of frowns on lot combinations, because if you got a original development like this that had these as 2 separate lots to begin with, the city would prefer to see housing on each lot for more tax base and things like that. So it's almost an opposite consideration if you're asking to combine lots. But I don't know why it would have been back then. But now we're being asked the opposite, to split them. But, you know, if they would have never been combined in the first place, this would just be a separate lot already platted in that subdivision. And,
we wouldn't
Yeah.
even be
right,
I would.
right. You know, the big question on the runoff or the drainage because of the hill is, you know, can there be some grading or engineering to reduce or eliminate that? I don't know.
It would probably be on my dime, is my assumption, because I'm downhill, you know what I mean? The top of that
Well,
hill is up
no.
here.
I don't know, I think the property owner has some obligation to make sure that they're not diverting water unnecessarily. But, you know, I don't know if there's that much of a slope, if there needs to be, whatever, sub drains or something like that put along the perimeter of the lot, but tiling it close to the lot line or something like that.
So looking at what's there, and the yellow line is the county line?
Yeah, that looks like the section lines.
Township, I mean.
So if you look at this, if you call up the subdivision plat, we've got a copy here. It almost looks like the lot line is a little to the east of that yellow line.
Is it parallel to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, runs parallel.
So what are before building, what are the setbacks?
As far as the garage.
Is it-
Driveway. It looks
Can
like
this be zoomed into or not?
It looks like it's already over the original lot line.
I just wish we could see the lot line in the existing house.
Yeah, you'd have to go find the pins to make sure, and then
You
we'd
wouldn't
have,
be able to see it on the GIS. On this one.
So we have 5-foot side back or side lot set up.
yeah, what,
With it in that
is this,
neighborhood.
is this R1 or R2?
5 foot in this,
Maybe. This is our, what we looked at is a house would, depending on where they put it on there, a house would fit on that lot. That was one thing we did look at, was the setback. Depending on the size of the house, obviously.
yep.
But it's the existing house, would that have the setbacks? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm wondering where this house is
Right.
first with regard to that lot. Was
Yeah,
that house
yeah.
legally built on that lot would be a question.
Right.
If it's R2, interior lots, 6-foot side yard setback. For dwellings over 1.5 stories, then you require an additional 5 feet. So either 6 or 11.
And it is R2.
Okay, So
if it's
you'd
a
have to-
one-story house, it's 5 feet. If it's 1.5 or 2, it's 11.
Yeah.
And then what about the back lot must be different than that or?
rear yard, principal building, 25 feet to the rear yard.
So does this get re-surveyed so that we can tell that, or are we not?
There's already pins that have been set. It's already a platted lot, so I don't know if it would necessarily need to be surveyed, but, you know, considering the way that lot's shaped, it'd be good for the property owner to find those pins to make sure that, whatever the plan might be, that the structure is located so it meets setbacks. Otherwise, they'd have to apply for a variance because of goofy lot configuration.
Oh, so how would we know that information? Are we not entitled to that, or?
I know, so in the back, corner of my lot, their lot is where the raspberry patch is gone, it's about 6 or 8 feet into the yard. Jim had told me that one time that, this is actually half in your yard. Pretty sure Barb pulled the flag out of the ground so that I didn't know where it was at. She's like, oh, Jim, it doesn't matter. So I don't think it's in there anymore. It's gone. I went up there because I talked to my wife afterward, and it was not long after we moved in, and I was like, it's gone. So I put like a little flag there, it's kind of disappeared, and I kind of tried to put it back in, and I try and mold my lot and stuff, so it's like, I don't think it's there anymore.
Back to your question, Ryan. You know, if let's say this split happens, they propose apply for a building permit, get a site plan. If it looks like they can fit a building in there in compliance with the ordinance, then, there'd just be a building permit thing and administratively approved by staff here and the building official, but if they can't get it to fit or want to make some changes because of the strange shape of the lot, then they'd have to apply for a variance, either the current owner or the new owner, and then there'd be another public hearing on that, trying to put a house there if it's not going to be in compliance with the current ordinance. Then you get notice again and you can come back. You had a question?
Well, our property is at the back of that lot. And what did you say the setback would have to be?
The rear yard in an R2 is, should I say 25?
Yeah.
Mhm. So, you gotta, I suppose you'd have to see how if you're gonna put a house in there, would it run sort of parallel with the front cul-de-sac and the rear lot line, and then you'd be able to measure 25 feet. But otherwise, if it's gonna be a little bit tilted, yeah, I don't know where 25 feet runs, but they'd have to deal with that at that time.
It is 2 stories, so it'd have to be 11 feet from
Side yard, 11 feet.
side yard, and then it'd have to be 25 feet from back.
Well, there's storage, yeah, or story and a half. And that's to hardscapes and outbuildings as well, right? Like
Pardon?
from their perspective, the back lot, the setback or whatever, that's the outbuildings or hardscapes, patios. decks.
That's for the principal structure.
I'm sure just depending on the shape and size, you take away some of the woods and you squeeze it in, there's a way of fitting something in there.
You talking the existing house or a possible new house?
I'm talking,
Right now, the existing one.
Yeah, so it's probably wise to have them locate those pins and make sure that they're going to stay in compliance with the side yard setback where they are.
So from the green one to the green one, that's 10 feet. It's really hard to see that.
On the plat here, just to give you a reference, the entrance, like this is roughly 78 feet from this lot line going to Rob right there. That gives you a better reference for how big it is. And then their side is roughly 64 feet just on the curve.
So what kind of things, I guess, would be taken into consideration as far as, like I say, from a learning perspective? I'm not familiar with this, so as far as what would make it not something that we do as far as having to split the parcel? Is there anything, or is it just kind of?
Yeah, why did we get a notification or
It's,
There's a minor, it's called a minor subdivision when you're splitting off a parcel from an existing larger tax parcel. It's called a minor subdivision, and our ordinance said, called public hearing, people within 350 feet get notification.
Is there anything that would cause it to not be split? Or anything to keep it from being split again?
I would, number one, the thing that's maybe favoring the property owner is that it's already been platted that way as lots versus most of the time when there's a minor subdivision, you've got a larger lot, whether it's described as a lot and block or, it meets and bounds where you're, on the edge of town or something and it's, starting at this point and then going south, east, northwest. And then they get a survey done. It's a large lot and they want to split it into two. And they get another survey done to create now two separate, maybe buildable lots with two separate tax parcels. And that's the normal way. And that, you scrutinize it again to make sure that the potential future lot that's getting split out meets the minimum lot requirements in the ordinance and so on. But here, it's already been platted that way, so it's a little bit harder for us to say, well, no, we're not going to allow this. But at the same time, if there's now a setback issue with possibly the existing house, that could be something that we need to look into more. I don't know whether that's 11 feet or not. I can't even, that yellow line is, I don't trust anything on GIS. I mean, some people think that that's gospel and it's a survey. It's not. Those lines are overlaid by a computer at the county and you'd have to go out, the property owner would have to go out and find the pins to know where these lines are. But that would be something that maybe we'd need to get some proof from the property owner. But we could table this or whatever the commission wanted to do, but maybe we'd need some evidence from the property owner that everything's in compliance with setbacks now on the existing lot where the house is.
Right, because if somebody had two lots and they built their house in the middle and split the lot with the house, obviously wouldn't be able to go back to that.
Right.
And, depending on where this sits, maybe we're in that situation.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't think it's to that extreme, but
Right,
it's,
but
like I say.
if it's too close.
And we don't have any gutters going through that neighborhood. I don't know, what I mean? It's like there's significant runoff. And so where this house would have to be located, they would have a pretty decent long driveway, which would create a lot more runoff going down there too. So I don't know if that plays into it. I know it does on the bottom of my corner lot, but like I say, it's already been thousands and thousands of dollars and some systems and stuff for the house and then just taking care of the yard because I get a lot of all the crabgrass and everything that comes from down in the bottom corner. Well, actually, he's about halfway across the road. I don't know what it would do with another house and drive it there. I don't know if that's significant as far as the road or the.
And then the winter is.
Any other questions?
Does a lot have to be surveyed before it's sold?
This has already been surveyed. It's a platted lot. You can look up Golden View.
Are there physical corners?
Yeah.
Typically there'll be a pin buried in the ground and surveyor would locate them to get it ascertained.
If it's still there.
You guys know what it is?
Yeah, this is an older subdivision.
When we first moved in, Jim showed me a pin and then it disappeared.
Interesting.
It looked like a piece of rebar or something is what it looked like.
Oh, because a surveyor's pin is something, that's got like an emblem or whatever, something on the top and it's, a cap
Oh,
and
the
it's
cap, but
buried.
even in our yard, with metal detector and neighbors' knowledge that have been there from the beginning, I found T-posts and all kinds of interesting things, but there is a lack of nice
Might
There's
just
no
conduit,
accurate
might just
buttons
conduit.
placed in the ground, so.
Yeah, that's what ours is too, is just a piece of rebar on the end.
I've got a steel T-post that's, volunteer maple tree has grown over, and that's our accurate placement of the property.
So would they have to, before it gets separated, would they have to have those pins marked? I think maybe it's a
Good idea, because right now, this is an older subdivision. I know like really old subdivisions, like original plat, city of Zumbrota, there aren't any pins there. You got to get a surveyor to go out and locate your corners. And if they can't find their pins and locate them and stake them and make sure that they're going to be in compliance with at least the side yard setback on the existing home, then they probably need to get a surveyor out there to find them.
So if it becomes split and becomes a separate lot, someone buys it and wants to build a house there, is it gonna be knowledge, something there that they know that, they gotta stop the runoff from
Yeah, well, there's definitely
tearing out my landscaping and running up the yard?
a drainage plan is always, if not the first thing, one of the first things that a developer or a builder or a property owner need to think about before they just start building. So that would definitely have to be part of the consideration.
And would that be part of the variance or just part of the?
No, that would just be the building permit process.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't a variance, this is just a request to split off a lot,
Okay.
but
Request to split off a lot that's already split off.
right? Yeah, that's good. But we could certainly, go ahead, what?
I said, but hasn't been for 40 years.
Right. Yep. But if it does happen, certainly the city staff can make sure that, if there's a building permit process or a building permit being filed, that that be given attention. But that's getting beyond my knowledge on what could actually be done out there. I don't know, Ryan, if you've got experience
Well,
with.
I think the thing that seems interesting to me is, so now, and I think Mike has very, very legitimate concerns, the pond at the bottom of the road, that occurs and is there through the winter and is there in the spring, to add a long, as he's saying, a long driveway, and then roof structure and drainage and the hillside that's there. Obviously there are, this is Zumbrota, this isn't like San Diego or San Francisco, excuse me. So this isn't a cliff, but the other thing that comes into play now is we're going in to do retainer or drainage or whatever, even if that gets out to the road and doesn't go through Mike's basement, the infrastructure that has to happen to do that, generally in the development, doesn't that have to be? So now you've got mature trees on somebody else's property, so then where does the retaining wall go? Did Mike and Lana lose trees, or does Jared lose trees? Or if you're, what are your names?
Bob and Marge Coffer.
Barb and Marge?
Bob and Mark.
Bob and Marge?
Bob and Marge.
Nice to meet you.
So as that stuff, as that stuff disappears and that impacts the other properties, it seems a little different than just a normal building permit if we were.
Just in a new subdivision, like if you were just building a new house.
Yeah, or I guess that's something I'm not clear as to how that works. If I go in to build somebody a garage and I go, well, we're gonna use this second lot to build a garage, and then somebody says, wow, that's, a 60 by 100 garage, and now we have issues. It all got approved and now we have issues, then now we're at that point, or whatever, and I guess that's something I've never been involved in. It
Runoff
seems like
issues?
a-
What issues, runoff?
What's that?
Runoff issues you're talking about?
Well, yeah, so if you're standing in the lower lot and looking up to their lot, I mean, that hillside essentially is over my head as far as elevation or close to. I'm not tall, but, albeit, so if they're going to control the runoff from their lot from not dramatically affecting their current structure, that whatever that is, retaining or whatnot, is gonna be disruptive to everything that's there. And I guess I don't know how that all works. I've never had to go into a close lot line and go, well, we got 5 feet setback or 11-foot setback if the house is 2 stories and we've got to get rid of this water and it's gonna kill your mature tree. I've never dealt with that, I guess, but it would seem to be
It'll have to be addressed, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the worst case, let's just say that this happens, house is there, there's noticeable increase in runoff. That property owner's gonna have to try to remedy it, but try to avoid those situations and be proactive about it. But I don't know if it would take somebody with more expertise to know whether it can be done or not.
Like anything can be done, it's just whether or not the person buying, or the development of the property, or the person buying the property knows that, or all of a sudden we've got all the structures into place, and then we start talking about.
Well, that's why, we'd have to make sure that if a building permit is ever pulled, that that issue is discussed and addressed right up front with the owner.
How does that occur?
When they come into City Hall, right? Usually somebody in your position meets with the.
Yeah, they'll send a building permit with the address and I'll get it to Rogers.
Yeah.
So when we get the building permit, we can take a good hard look at it for you, to help you out.
Otherwise, I'm looking at the subdivision ordinance here, and a minor subdivision, where you're just splitting off from a larger lot. Basically just says if all the minor subdivisions shall conform to all design standards as specified in this ordinance. So, as long as this lot meets the minimum requirements in our ordinance, that's about all we can do, unless, again, we want to make sure that they're going to be in compliance with setbacks on their existing home. Let's just say this lot it's almost impossible. Like there's a cliff on it, and it's just you can't build on it. Then we could recommend not approving the minor subdivision then. But I don't know. I think maybe that would have probably should have been addressed at the time of platting when that lot was first created. Anyway, any other questions? I'll close the public hearing. So what do we want to do?
Discuss it. Yeah. My feeling is the purpose of our committee is to protect properties and make sure that they're used as they should be. And my concern with this property would be the runoff. I think about what has happened right beyond my back door with the Wobig deal. And when we had the big rain, that's a big incline going up to the water tower. And when we had a big rain, there was flooding, there was dirt and sticks and who knows what down in Brommelkamp's yard. It went down through their yard, down to Lawler's yard, out onto Lally Street, which is quite a distance with the runoff. I can very well see his concern. I would not be in favor of splitting that lot off and fitting a house in there, taking out the vegetation that is now absorbing the water off that hill, because it is going to end up in his basement or in his yard, or out in the street in front of your place. No doubt about it.
Well, maybe we need to have somebody with a little bit more expertise, engineering or whatever, just take a look at it, look at the feasibility of it. As well as ask the property owner to get those corners marked.
I think that's the big concern, is make sure that the present house would stay in compliance if it was split. And like you mentioned too, I mean, there's lots of engineering techniques that could possibly be used to mitigate problems here, but we don't know.
But with the driveway and a house, the roof on the house and the driveway, that's what's happened over Woolbiggs with that huge big building. All that runoff has to go someplace. And it's not down the ground. It's on somebody else's lot.
That's the problem with a hill, isn't it?
Right. And I haven't been out there, I haven't seen this, but I would think that is not conducive to taking out all that vegetation that's now absorbing what water there is. And you've still got a problem, even with all the trees and the vegetation there. Right.
Would Bill's company be able to take a peek at that?
Would it be appropriate then to table this until next month, pending further information?
We're not running afoul of the 60-day rule, but I'm willing to do that, get a little bit more input from our engineer and maybe have the property owner get those corners marked.
When did they apply for this?
September 9th.
9, so we've got till 11/9, then 60 days?
Yeah.
We can always ask for one extension anyway,
Okay.
but which we're gonna have to do because the next planning meeting is what? Do we have to worry about election? Is it?
No, yeah, I think you guys moved it.
Did we?
We did.
To what date? Do you remember?
Remember, I think we were talking to Dylan about it. You might have moved it to Wednesday, so that'd be the 9th. I'd have to look back. at
Yeah,
your
we
guys'
put on the
minutes.
9th.
It's either the 9th or the following Tuesday.
No. No, we did the 9th. That's what I have on my.
Yeah,
calendar. I put it on
that was
the-
scheduled for the 9th, okay. Well, I know under that 60-day rule, we can unilaterally extend it once, so maybe there should be a motion to do that, and then we can ask that these things be investigated more and then revisit it at the next meeting.
Can we name the things that we want investigated?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we've named 2.
We want the setbacks.
Yeah.
And the
But
grading.
locate the corners, or locate the lot corners and then check setbacks, yes.
And can they investigate the runoff? Can someone do
I
that?
think that's what we were just talking about, is our city engineer can maybe take a look at that if they have time.
And those things will be in the motion then to delay this then till next meeting?
That's our rationale for extending the 60-day period, another 60 days, and for tabling this till the next meeting.
Yes, okay. I would make that motion.
Okay. Motion second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, carries. All right, sorry that took so long, but thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
We did not get a notice. We saw this in the.
In the publication. Okay.
Is it possible for us to get a notice? Will that automatically happen, or do I give you my?
Well,
I mailed it.
now,
I must,
pardon me?
I'm sorry, I mailed out the notices. I swear I can't choose, but I'm
It
still.
may have gone to the previous.
Yeah, I'd say the newer,
Oh, I'm
the newer
sorry.
owners.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
There won't be any other notices though, because there's not a new application you file. If there was ever a variance, for instance, in the future, then you get another notice.
Okay.
But now there won't be.
So it'll just be the next city council.
It'll be in the paper.
It's planning and zoning meeting.
It'll be the next planning meeting, which is November 9th.
sorry.
November 9th?
Yeah.
Okay. At 5:35 again?
5:30.
5:30. Okay. All right.
That they should.
Well, I appreciate your guys' considerations in this. I definitely
Yeah,
do.
and like that guy's lived there for how long? What'd you say, 11 years?
Yeah.
Understand that.
Yep.
To have another house and the taxes that provide for the city, and I get it.
Right.
I appreciate your looking into it.
And Ryan, you can attend by Zoom if you're in Florida.
Zoom in.
We'll see. Can you hear
You
me?
may not wanna
Is,
see
like,
him,
will-
yeah.
Will my voice carry out through Zoom enough that?
I think you can do some
All right.
video.
Move on, no old business, 6A, new business. We've got a new helper.
Yeah, this is Munira Alamir. Sorry, I get so nervous to say it. She's a new CETA representative, and she'll be working with Zumbrota 2 times a week. She comes in, and she'll be kind of helping and eventually taking over this portion of the meeting for CETA, so I'll still be around for 5 days.
What do you mean, this portion?
Well, she'll be running
City
meetings.
planning.
She'll be doing city planning.
Oh,
Yeah,
and what are you gonna do?
Do whatever's left.
so zoning, the business part of EDA.
People for the, instead of one.
Exactly.
Will you have a different office or your office
Oh,
share?
my office is the back cubicle.
Okay,
So I do have my own space, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so
I
she'll
think
be
you
on
should trade places if she's.
I
doing-
know.
I work part-time too, I know
It would,
that.
It would be, sorry.
It would be. And if you said she's gonna do all of then she
Yeah,
needs
you
more
should.
space than you do.
She don't have to come to meetings
Do you
anymore.
need
is
help
what you're
moving your
saying.
stuff out of there?
She don't have to come to
Well, he's
meetings
gonna
anymore.
help do
is
the
what you're saying.
economic development.
I will oust him yet, though. I won't get his office.
She'll get a salary?
I want to know what a Stanford grad is doing in Zumbrota, Minnesota.
For that, we don't want to know. All we know is we got her.
I wanna know. I would
Will she
love
get
to
a
know.
salary?
Well, I
She gets
mean,
paid
the
by
question
CETA.
is, why wouldn't I be here?
Well, because,
Right
how would you
answer.
find it?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, I wanted to be a city planner, and I'm from Rochester, so I was just looking for like
okay.
positions in the area. I interviewed with Casson. I have a very funny story of how that ended up. Even though I ranked higher in their employment matrix, they went with another person, and they gave them $20,000 less than they would have given me. So I'm definitely a steal. And then that's how I found CETA through one of the interview workers, and they matched me to Zumbrota.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
I'm excited to be here.
Facing. You'll see what you'll be facing.
Yeah.
That was nothing.
Yeah, that
No.
was tame.
That was nothing.
No, we got a couple people, yeah.
They can come back anytime.
Yeah, that was kinda nice.
Yeah. I was impressed, honestly. Like, I didn't expect people to be so engaged.
Yeah, that's always nice when people show up.
I can never turn this on.
But sometimes it isn't so planned.
No.
And if anybody knows of a person that would be a good replacement for Jen, would you please let me know so we can,
Is it because she's running for city?
well, she's resigned.
Joan is
Oh,
right.
Joan is
Joan,
right.
so maybe we need to.
Yeah, I know. That's right. I was thinking that's what you were saying, sorry.
So if you know of somebody, please let me know. I can reach out to them.
Okay.
Well, my neighbor was interested once, but he moved. The guy across the street from me, but he just moved.
Put something on the
I
website.
don't know what happened
Is there
with
something
that.
on the city website about it?
No, not yet.
You should.
Yeah, that's.
Glenn and his wife.
Oh, in the Great House?
All right, well, you touched on 7A, so meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, boy.